Hello, Mr. Linden, welcome.
All right, we're live.
Okay, so we're going to start the Finance Committee meeting. Discussions this month are that the audit had gone well, and Sherry's going to come in for January's Finance Committee meeting to give her presentation and overview of the audit. And then we have some auditor recommendations I'll go over in a second, but then the expenditures exceeded the revenues by $24,561 once the repayments that went to Penridge and Palisades went out and the interfund transfer to the cafeteria was made. So I thought that was pretty good.
Didn't have enough in the reserve?
No, this was just the revenues over the expenditures, so that it can either go either way. So sometimes the expenditures are higher and then we build that difference into the next year's budget, or if it's the revenues are higher, then we wind up giving back the money to the sending schools. So.
All right, we ought to talk about that.
Yeah. And then the auditor recommendations this year is the employee handbook. They are encouraging us to consider developing one of those. I know there is one kind of in the works, but we're still working on updating some policies and job descriptions and stuff like that. So we kind of thought it would be better to get that stuff done first and then finish the handbook. The payroll processing. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
ESBA may have a template, or they may help with that like they do our policies.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken though.
Okay, well, we'll look into it. The payroll processing, of course, you know, their recommendation that it's not done off grounds, that it's done in-house. However, this year, there's a lot of things that are still being done off ground. So, you know, they were just wanted to make sure that we had internal controls in place. So over the last year, instead of Lynn, who does the payroll, entering new employees into the system, when they're hired, Tracy now enters them into the system. So that way it's like controlled, you know, by HR, and then payroll has access to the information from there. And then the other thing would be the bank controls. So last year, if you remember, whoever had assigned all those bank statement things over and over again for signatures, we found that, I guess back when 9/11 happened, they didn't check checks like they used to from each of the tellers. It's pretty much automatic. So if there's 3 signatures on the check that's required, they don't necessarily check for 3 signatures anymore. It still just kind of goes through the system. So when I was looking at the signature cards, I noticed that it said that anybody that's a signature on the account can actually go into the bank and withdraw funds. So of course that makes me a little nervous that any one of the signers can just go in over the counter and write a withdrawal slip and, you know, go on their merry way. Not saying that anybody would, but it is, you know, a potential liability for the school. So when I was talking to Sherry, she said that some of the schools and other places that she does audit for, it's not just board members or JOC members that do it, that you can actually have signatures that are more in-house too. So I really wanted to look at the policy, which is 616, and see if we can kind of cut down on the amount of signatures, especially because it's already just a hand stamp. So it's not like you guys are really signing them anyway. So I wanted to know how the committee felt about that.
I think it's safer with fewer signatures.
Yeah, but I'm not a true believer in a hand stamp. I think that policy needs to be eliminated immediately.
Cursive.
Well, so
For treasurer, every week you can sign 40 checks.
wow. So that's going to be the thing. You guys are going to have to make the commitment to come in and sign the checks twice a month. all whoever's on the accounts, because I mean they are stamped.
Who's not here? We'll just tell them to sign it. We have who's our treasurer? Megan?
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, that's how I ended up with the job 2 years ago.
That is exactly how you ended up with the job.
that's true.
I mean, the other thing we can look at is just having them print on the checks, which is an option, I believe. Where's Dennis? There you are. I think we could get Infinite Visions to put their signatures on there, so when it prints out of the system, right?
That is correct. Yes, we can put signatures in there.
So if you would rather look at that way.
So you can print an endorsed check.
No, it's not it's not endorsed. It's like your signatures on the line to,
Allow them to cash it.
Yes, just like when those government checks were issued this year. You know, I remember they made a big deal that Donald Trump wanted his signature on the checks. He didn't sit down and sign, 18 or 25 million checks. Those checks were printed with his signature on them.
Okay, point taken.
It prints when it makes the amount up, right?
I'm sorry?
It prints when it puts the amount in, right?
Correct. Yeah, so it would have to go through the whole approval process. It goes through the, the POs and everything. And then again, we will hold them just like I have the whole pile over here, and then when you guys approve them from the board, then they get mailed out. If you don't approve them, then I pull that check and we void it and move on from there. So.
I think that sounds like a reasonable thing. Couple of administrators and a board member, JOC member, whether it's a treasurer or what, I think that would be pretty good.
What about changing the policy to not, instead of the treasurer signing the check, how about, whoever's working at the head of HR or whatever, and maybe work that as an angle anyway.
Well, I kind of was thinking either the JOC secretary, which would be Tracy, and then the executive director, which would be Jeff, because that way every time, instead of every year with you guys switching your 3 positions, it's like every year we have to get all their signature cards signed again, which is what's going to happen, within this short order this month, that as people change roles, we have to get all their signature cards redone.
And I'm thinking we're just stuck in a rut. Like, that's the way we always did it. So I'm thinking that's the way we still do it. And maybe there's a different, better way.
Okay. So if you guys are okay with that, we'll rewrite policy 616 to include whomever you want. If you're okay with the JOC secretary, executive director, and if you want the treasurer on there, we can do that. Or we just can leave it the 2 internal people, and then that way it's very easy to get signatures on and they shouldn't change frequently on the signature cards.
Well, I think whoever we have on there, it should be printed on there so that nobody has to continue to sign them every single month. So I think no matter who's on there, we should have it printed.
Okay, and that's fine, because like I said, right now they have a stamp. So, and that's what was in the policy, and that's what we've been doing. So we can now move that to print them on there, and then just decide who.
You don't want the business manager?
Well, I
Whatever.
figure since I kind of reconciled this checking account, that breaks up the,
You
can-
sign off on the PO?
yes. And then because I oversee the bank reconciliations, I think it's a better internal control not to have my signature on there.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm fine.
Whose signatures
agree
are
with
on the district checks?
It's going to depend. Like the IU, I was talking to Parla Harlan, and she's on that because she's on her for the IU. I'm not really sure. Palisades, I'm not really sure, Bridget, if you remember, or Jim, who's on yours. It's usually, I think, 3
Treasurer.
members. Oh, sorry.
Pretty sure our treasurer's signature is on it, Dave Halbert.
Yeah. And I think two other people you should, but the difference with the sending schools is they don't typically, well, I guess they kind of do. I was going to say they always switch who is in the positions as frequently as they do at the tech school. But I'll go on your recommendation and rewrite the policy however you guys think it would be the best. I just feel, I would feel a little bit more comfortable with less signatures available out there.
No, I'm okay with that. I think that's good measure, for my opinion.
So are you saying that whatever signatures you put on there, any one of the people who sign that can go and withdraw money? Is that what you were saying?
That is correct.
So that seems to be the problem to me. I think no matter whose names are on there, no person, whether it's an employee or a board member or whatever, should be able to just go and withdraw money at the, so is there a way of fixing that so that you would need multiple people to be able to withdraw money or anything like that?
No, because the banks don't do that multiple thing anymore. Ever since 9/11, they kind of got away from that, is what I was told when I was talking to both the auditor and Penn Community Bank.
Well, you shouldn't be able to clear the check unless you have 3 signatures on it. So if a board member walks in who's ever on a check and there's only 1 signature, the bank should not endorse that.
It's not that part. It's the part, like if you go in and take a withdrawal slip and just walk up to the counter. So they don't check for 3 signatures. That's an internal policy. It's not a bank policy. It's not something that the banks do anymore.
There's only 1 signature line on withdrawal slips anyway. You can't put multiple on those.
And technically, they're the temporary owner of the account, so they have access to the funds because somebody needs to have access to the funds, and that person is. So we almost need to do an internal attestation that we know we're not allowed to make. We almost need to put that extra step in. Anybody who has signature authorities needs to sign an additional thing. Maybe a lawyer drafts up that says that they understand they're not allowed to do that. I mean, it should go without saying, of course, it's theft.
Right.
But to acknowledge it, sort of.
On that note, does it make sense to have David Kahn provide a legal suggestion on how he thinks this should be done?
Doesn't hurt.
How often do you reconcile the stuff, Teresa? Once a month?
Well, and right now, yeah, the statements are reconciled every month, and I do have alert notifications come to me that anything over $1 that's transferred, or I get a notice and an alert. So
we have the president, secretary, and treasurer on our checks.
Okay.
I still think the executive director, the board secretary, maybe the board treasurer. I can go either way on that.
Stephen, you're on the committee, and Mr. Cormack, you too. So, please weigh in.
I think if you're going to go with the signing of the checks, which are already pre-signed, I think you have to have at least a board member's name on a check. And that would typically either be the board president or the secretary, or the treasurer, excuse me.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to have David check into this and look at that. I'm not a banker, so I don't know what the best way to do this is, but I think we should make it almost impossible for somebody to, walk into a bank, take a withdrawal slip, and just walk out. Again, not that anybody's going to do that, but the potential exists for that happening.
Just checks and balances. Makes sense.
Yep. Okay, so that was it for the audit suggestions. And then the other information is we have a couple grants going on right now. We did not get awarded any funds for the matching grant. The PCCD grant ended and we filed the final expenditure report. The CARES grant is going to be done December 30th, so that final expenditure report's due. The governor's grant ends June 20th, and we have a quarterly report due on that. And we just filed for a Job Ready grant on December the 10th. And then we have a supplemental equipment grant that we're in the process of applying for right now. So that's pretty much it for the grants. On the agenda, you'll see motions for a one-year renewal of the food service procurement contract. In that contract from last year, there was a wording that we could go for a 1 year, but one separate year at a time renewal on that, and it'll be for the same price of $600. So that's on the agenda. And then the policy 626 from last month for the federal fiscal compliance will be on the agenda for approval. Does anybody have any questions about those? No? And then for open items, I know Tracy had sent out to the JOC review from last month's meeting for the sub and facilitators. I'm assuming that we're hoping to get that on an agenda to get approved. So if it's not obviously for tonight, we'd like to get it out there for January's agenda. So if you have any questions regarding what she sent out, if you can please send her questions back. And then the campus radios, Dennis is still researching it. On that, he's waiting for one more quote and a sample radio to be sent in. So hopefully we'll be able to move forward on that in January. Budget prep is underway. And we're in the process of still pulling all the information together for the Perkins audit. They're going to be looking at 1819, 1920, and 2021. And it's not just a finance thing that they're looking at. They're really going deep into a lot of the programming and curriculum and stuff like that. So just so you know that that's still going on. And then we have our bills pending, if anybody has any questions on anything there or any of the financial reports.
The Perkins audit. So that's part of the reason why a lot of these changes have been going on too, correct? With like the teachers having to submit curriculums and have everything lined up. I guess that was what Jeff and Dr. Herrera were working with them, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why we've been pushing for these things. And, you know, how is it looking on that side, the curriculum side and everything else? Good.
Yeah, we're making great progress with our instructors. Perkins, Perkins 5, the new Perkins 5 now, there's a lot more restrictions. They're looking for 3 years of data, past 3 years of data. So they're going to go back 3 years and look at lesson plans, curriculum. They're going to look at past tracking, and they want 3 different programs, 3 different teachers each year for, 3. So we have to provide Perkins with 9 different instructors, lesson plans, and programs. So, our teachers are working hard and they're doing very well, getting it up to date. And we're hoping that, the Perkins will help us, keep going forward. So, right now it's due January 15th. Mike has been working really hard on it, so he'll be running around like crazy now for the next couple of weeks. We'll be in over the holiday. I don't think he realizes that, but he'll be coming in with me and we'll be finishing up before January.
I realize it, Mr. Sueda.
Yeah, we're moving along. So curriculum is our number one concern, and we want to make sure that our kids are receiving the best education possible. So,
along with the curriculum component, it's also the instruction and assessment. We're working very closely with the Bucks County IU to support our special ed students, and that will be an area of focus. We're so glad that we started the initiative, and it'll really help our students.
Good.
And then that's pretty much it for the finance. Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay.
Mike, you're muted.
Okay, would you like me to go right into policy? Hearing no objections, tonight for second reading, we will have policies 113.1, 113.2, 113.3, and 115, and the deletion of 118 into 126. We've talked about these in committees and first reading last month without any discussion. Is there any questions, concerns, or comments before we move them forward to tonight's agenda? Okay, as we talked about our work-based programming, it's great to see students working through our social media, through the websites. We're getting a really lot of positive feedback, both locally throughout the state of Pennsylvania and also beyond. So we are really like the model school right now, being in 5 days a week with showing the success of our students. I think it's important for the JOC, the effort and work that you put into our policies and ensuring that our students, administration, and faculty have all the resources. It's really nice to see that end result, and that's getting students into the workforce being successful. Does anyone have any questions about first reading, which is policies 121, 124, 67, 130, 135, and 626?
I would assume there was no field trips this year, though, right?
Correct. Field trips, we've really enhanced that over the last few years. We would like to get more students to the work sites. Bill Young, we did that as a model program. We went to Carson Helicopters, and so the bridging the gap between the school and the employers are so important. We'll have a follow-up even with last month's meeting when we were talking about our animal veterinary program, getting students on the work site and using that through that field trip model will be helpful and needed. Okay, without any questions or comments, then for tonight, we have policies. I'll just scroll down. 137.1, which is extracurricular participation by home education students. 143, standards for persistently dangerous schools. Last month in executive session, I went over our school safety report. I see value in reporting out on our Act 26 violations. We have very low. We attribute that to a very safe, supportive school community. So we're far from that. And along that, for standards for victims of violent crimes. And finally, our student services, which is our school guidance plan. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of those?
The 137.1 is the extracurricular participation by home education students. We don't really have home education students here, correct?
My understanding is that's for students that are homeschooled, and that we do, yes.
Okay.
There was another one for a cyber charter, which since we have no contracts with any of those schools, That's why we're not presenting that one, which is, I believe, 137 too.
Well, and extracurriculars at the tech school is the skills and stuff.
Skills, yes, FFA HOSA. We have a weight club through law enforcement.
That the farm show too, and
Yes. We're looking at a clay shooting league, but we're far off from that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is everyone okay with these policies moving forward? Great. I thank everyone. I know that moves us up. And I'll turn it over back to Jeff.
Hey, Michael,
Yes.
it's Bob Missantri. I just joined at 6:30 for the policy meeting. Seems I missed it.
You're just in time.
We moved it up, Bob. Yeah. Would you like me to go over it?
No, don't. That's fine. I just, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You can go over it again for Mr. Missantri.
No, I read it. I'm fine with it, Jeff. I was fine with it when I read through them this afternoon. So
Oh, okay.
I was a little disoriented. I thought I had joined at 6:30 at the right time, and it was over. So I thought maybe I'd slept through Christmas. I can't even find my video button. Oh, there I am.
It's 2022. What are you talking about?
Thanks, Dave. That means I'm a year older. Thanks.
A year better, not older.
So can we make the regular meeting go this quick?
Y'all remember one time 4 years ago, our meetings were this quick? Maybe that's why meetings are so long now.
Wait a second. I wasn't here 4 years ago, so that's not, I don't believe so. Let's try it.
Agreed.
Believe it, it's true.
I'm okay stepping up the game. We can do that.
So do we have another subcommittee meeting next? Policy, facilities, and then
Yeah, we're doing
finance.
facilities, waiting for our presenters, but I have them coming in at 7:15.
Okay, so at this juncture, from 6:30 to 7:15, are we on break?
Sure, we can, Dr. O'Connell, if you want us to start singing Christmas carols, we can do that, or
I'm going
I'm
to
certainly not going to
pause-
lead you in them. I'll hum along.
I'm going to pause the recording then if we're not gonna,
Just keep it rolling for a minute. Just so,
Okay.
unless we do break, and then we're not going to talk business at all. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about? If, my plan is to call break until about 10 after 7, and we'll stop recording, and you can either tune back in or just stay logged in, whatever you want. Does anybody have any objection to that or want to talk about anything first?
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
All right, we're on break, guys. See us in 45.
all right, we're recording.
you want to make sure all of the board members are in, Mr. Akmanowitz?
I'm back, guys.
Okay, who else? Mr. Ott?
I think he's here.
Megan Mecklin.
Mr. Spear,
Oh, what?
I am here.
Megan,
Yep, I'm here. Oh, so is Mr. Fumo not coming tonight?
Mr. Fumo.
No, he's not coming tonight.
Oh, you know, he asked for this presentation, right? Now he's gonna have to he's gonna have to at least watch it back. We'll have to send him a link.
Okay.
Are we ready, Mr. Akmanowitz?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to introduce Garrett and Rick Evans from Site Logic. Notice the spelling Logiq. Something unique there, so just you'll remember that. Garrett and Rick, you have the floor.
Rick, are you gonna kick it off?
Thank you. And good evening, everyone. And we thank you for this opportunity to present SiteLogic's capabilities and how we might assist the technical school. I am Rick Evans. I am president of the Northeast region for SiteLogic. Our main offices for the Northeast are located in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And that is where we do the majority of our work as well, is in Pennsylvania. With me tonight is Garrett Lewis. He's our executive vice president for hybrid construction. And he will be demonstrating some of our capabilities tonight. A little bit about SiteLogic. You have control, Garrett.
Yeah, sorry, Rick. The internet's a little
slow. We've worked with over 100 school districts in Pennsylvania. We've overseen the construction of over $5 billion of schools within the state, about 40 million square feet. We are a full service company that we do anything from greenfield construction to energy services, to engineering, design, commissioning, and performance assurance, something we'll talk about later. So moving on through, I know we don't have a lot of time. I want to talk about the tool we're going to present tonight is what we call our long-term facility maintenance plan. And our philosophy here is very different than anything I know of in this industry. So not only do we take the approach of we do the site survey, we identify all your pieces of equipment, look at the lifespan, set up replacement plans for them, but we take a much more holistic approach to it. As we're going through and we're identifying those, we also identify how those systems are currently serving the occupants of the school. And I'll get into that a little bit. Are they doing their job now? And the third component of this is that how will they serve the school into the future? So if we had a mechanical system that was installed in 2005, and we've been replacing individual components on a standard replacement maintenance plan, after 20 years, the system may be renewed, but it's still a 2005 design. Has it moved ahead? Have we done anything to really enhance the performance of that system? Does it meet the needs of today's, or does it still have the same restrictions that it had originally in 2005? So we really want to take that holistic approach when we do this. So we're going to make a spend. Let's make the wisest spend we can, and let's do it in the most cost-effective way we can. And all those elements are wrapped into our program here. The first part is fairly conventional. I would say it's a little more detailed than what you normally see. It's our asset condition report. So we go through every one of your facilities, or in this case, your facility, identify every single component within that facility, look at the current age of it and condition, and we look at the expected life of that piece of equipment, and then we rate it. As you see in the middle of this chart, you'll see green, yellow, and red. So if an item is red, that means it needs more immediate attention. So if we're doing, say, a 10-year plan, that would be in the early years of the plan. If it's yellow, it's still operating, it's okay, it's probably going to be in the latter years of the plan. If it's green, it's not going to be in the plan at all. So it's going beyond the life of the plan. So we can quickly look at a sheet and identify the amount of maintenance and the specific items that will be required within whatever time period we choose to do the plan, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. To the right there, and I know this is an eye chart, it's hard to see, but we rank the priorities of these as well. So if we have 10 red items and we can only afford to do 5 of them in 1 year, we have a system to rank them, which are the top 5 that will be done this year. And on the left of this chart, you'll see a lot of the various things that we survey for, way beyond just the equipment. We're looking at acoustical levels, indoor air quality, ADA code reviews. So we're also identifying things beyond what would be normally in a long-term facilities maintenance plan. As part of our holistic approach, after we've done our surveys, loaded everything into our database, then we go into the space with data loggers and we start to see how is this system performing right now. Studies show that if you install a brand new system and commission it and calibrate it, that within 5 years, it's actually out of calibration and is probably in need of calibration. One of the tools we use to survey the occupant comfort and the educational use of the space is right here. This chart is for carbon dioxide. It's not uncommon that a outside air damper gets stuck on a piece of equipment. It doesn't show up on your control system. You have no idea that it's not even operating. Because it's not operating, the CO2 levels in your room may be getting much too high for the occupants. If you look at the chart on the left, it's a cognitive function chart versus CO2 levels. And as you can see, depending on the cognitive function, CO2 can have a very adverse effect on that cognitive function. So we don't want to have that in our educational spaces. We want to make sure right up front that the space is, the systems are providing what the occupants need. Another thing is comfort. And comfort is made up of 2 components. It's temperature and relative humidity. You can achieve a certain temperature within a room and it can still feel very uncomfortable if the relative humidity is very high. So we're gonna log for both temperature and relative humidity, and you may be getting complaints from a specific area of the building when you look at your system and say, well, the temperature's fine. Yeah, but the relative humidity is not. And there are many ways that that can be addressed as part of a long-term facilities maintenance plan. So those are just 2 of the things we're looking at as to how the systems are performing and providing what you need for your students.
Yeah. One of the other things I'll add just for this, because charts can be kind of boring if you don't understand what you're seeing. But if you look at the blue line, you look at room temperature. One of the other takeaways that we saw here, specifically with this school district, was you'll notice that there was no change, right, as far as room temp, no consistent change up or down across a period of time from August 23rd to September 7th when this would have been loggered. What you're noticing there is there's no temperature setbacks. So when we look at some of these things, we're not just getting at, okay, what's the temperature in RH? We're also looking at energy efficiency, how you're operating the system. Are you using it most efficiently? Why are you cooling on the weekends when you don't need to? So we're going to be looking at this in a number of different ways. The district that we looked at here, specifically this chart, they had a bacterial outbreak within the facility. They wanted to understand why. Their facilities maintenance had been outsourced. They weren't able to come to a conclusion on why they had multiple outbreaks, bacterial outbreaks within the building. And ultimately we got in, we looked at their systems and we said, hey, you're well over 90% RH on several days within the month of August into September. In later years. And that's also, when Rick talked about the systems from 2005, when we look at piecemealing or piecemeal replacement or maintenance of existing systems, does the system have the capability to control for relative humidity? Does it mechanically dehumidify your space? If not, it's something that you may consider, obviously, if you're having these problems. There's a lot that we can ascertain from the data loggers. It's not just the surface level stuff as far as comfort. But the comfort equation is usually pretty interesting to people. Most people think, hey, if I knock the temperature down, 4 strikes, then I'll be more comfortable. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. And in this particular case, we ended up not replacing the system wholesale, but simply augmenting it with humidity control for a fraction of the price of what it would have taken to replace that system. Another thing we look at is lighting. In today's virtual classrooms and electronic learning, lighting has become very important within the space. So we want to go through and make sure the lighting is correct for whatever educational program is happening within that space. Critically important, and making those adjustments. The other thing about benefit of lighting is there can be significant energy savings with that as well. So we might prioritize that in the long-term facilities plan because it either pays for itself or comes very close to paying for itself. So once we've done all this data gathering, we're going to load it into our, what we call MySite IQ. It's a web-based program, cloud-based, and it's accessible by the district, by the business manager, facilities, whoever you want to give access to, you have access to this program. It's a massive database, and it is also very powerful in the way you can access and manage the data. And I'm going to turn it over to Garrett to just give us a little idea of just how powerful this tool is.
Yeah, guys, we'll talk about MySite IQ. Rick obviously talked about the data collection, the boring stuff. I'll give a shout out to Jeff for the early introduction here with the IQ at the end of the name. The IQ is intelligence, powered by efficiency, powered by intelligence. And when we talk about intelligence, this is what we're talking about. We're starting to get into some innovative ways that we're looking at facilities maintenance and long-term planning for a facility. For you all, very interesting because you're sitting here at the Bucks County Technical School. You may represent your home district. You're going to want to understand how this facility is operating, obviously. We've got a few photographs here on the right-hand side. Don't worry about those. I'll introduce the plan in more depth later as far as the tool, MySite IQ itself. But one of the things that I do want to point out, and you'll see this term for the first time, is GESA, G-E-S-A. If you're not familiar with it, it is something that energy services companies typically approach you about. It's a guaranteed energy savings agreement. That's a contract in Pennsylvania. We actually use the GESA contract, not necessarily for the energy savings guarantee, because the price of energy is pretty cheap at this point. In this state, we're fortunate. So as far as true energy efficiency projects, you got to watch out for them. But why we use GESA is because of the way that we can implement and control the vendors that participate on a maintenance project or a summer program and facilities modernization. We can control participation, we can control bid lists, no change orders. There's a lot of benefits of that we'll talk about. So some of that stuff is relevant because once we come out of the tool and we look at the annual plan, we'll work with you on how to procure those services for the summer program or whenever that program may occur. All other work is given an estimate, and the work that can't be done under the GESA law would be under the traditional design bid build environment that you all are probably pretty familiar with as far as representing public agencies in buying services. And then the third one would be KPN, co-stars, those kind of things, some of the cooperative purchasing programs that you have access to, like for roofing structures and things like that. But what I'll jump into right now is the MySite IQ tool, what it looks like. We do participate with one of the member school districts, and some of the representatives from that district are on the board here. I think they're on the call tonight from Penridge. So I do want to just walk you through a little bit of Penridge's plan and what that looks like from an IQ standpoint and what we can do for you with that. And talk about innovative technology, but the more important part of this is the pathway to transparency. I think what we found and what I've seen anyways in my time with public schools is that what the community demands more than anything is transparency in how we're spending our money, right? So what we're trying to do is make sure that we establish a plan that is cloud-based using the technology that's available to us so that you can share this information, share this data, whether that be with your other administrators, your school board, or even your community. So there's a level of accountability and transparency as administrations change, as board members change. That plan is consistent, updated, and it's not a static document. I'm not coming in and surveying your facilities and handing over a book to you that 5 years from now is going to be irrelevant to you. You paid $45,000. You maybe used it, maybe it collected dust. This is a living, This is an interactive tool that is living and breathing as far as the functionality and the data that's in it. I think that's something to point out. What I want to do is look real quick at a screenshot from Penn Ridge. This is getting into the database. And again, we could do a live demo if anybody's interested. But we're looking at a 5-year plan. Now, kind of ignore the numbers here. A lot of the data in this was used for demonstration purposes. But what you're seeing when you get into your plan in the dashboard screen is I've got my number of projects. It's 673 projects identified. A total estimated budget of nearly 105 million in this case. What that is, though, of those 673 projects, it's anything from new construction that maybe came out of a feasibility study to the replacement of door hardware or a clock system. I mean, it's anywhere from $1 to, could be, $50 million, depending on what it is you were planning to accomplish, right? We have our total budget by school. So this breaks down the budget over their 5-year plan by school. So you can see the Penn Ridge High School being the biggest facility. Obviously, it's probably where the largest investments are going to go, just when you start to look at square foot demands of a facility. The second breakdown, the second dashboard calculation that we do that you'll have available to you at all times is the total budget per square foot. Obviously, this would be one building that we're examining, so you're not going to be using that to compare or contrast notes with other facilities as far as what level of investment it might take to maintain those buildings. And then we have a total budget by facility system. We look at 13 different systems when we survey your buildings. The first one, the biggest one here was the HVAC air side. That's an air conditioning program there. We look at casework, obviously classroom casework, mechanical, pavement, fire alarm doors. We had lighting, landscaping, anything that falls into one of those buckets, we do categorize them. We'll help you understand how that shakes out. And then we have our budget by construction year down here. And that starts from 2020 going through 2025 in this case. And everything in 2029 were just things they asked us to look at. Hey, is this something that we might want to do? We might consider later. We put it off in a calendar year that is down the road so that you can understand and look at estimated costs for scopes of work that maybe potentially you're just interested in talking about, discussing, or that is just food for thought for now, but might be something you might want to act on later. The third screen that I'll show you from the tool is what I like. My favorite screen is the plan details, right? So up here, I've got every building. You're going to have one building, but I have the 2020, 2021, 22, 23 plan years per facility. Within the tool right now, I'm able to click on, and we have highlighted here, it's the Bedminster Elementary School at Penn Ridge, the 2021 plan year investment, and this is not the actual investment, this was for demo purposes, but is 545,715. What's included in that 545,715 now populates right here, right? So on the bottom of the screen, I'm looking at the total bid budget. That includes cost of design as well as construction and then the components of construction, right? So we're looking at all costs, not just the big costs. That's your soft costs as well as your hard costs if you're familiar with that terminology. We have a project description of each line item. We're going to talk about where the funding's coming from. In this case, we just have everything in deferred because we didn't have that set up for demo purposes. And then we have our facility category. So you're going to see what we're impacting, what facility, what kind of category of impact we're going to make. Is it the lighting system, mechanical systems, what that is. And we break that one further as far as facility systems. So you can see how you start to have a lot of data at your hands. It's really good for administrators. It's also really good for board members because as you're thinking about 2022 and you're planning for the year ahead, I can look at what's included in the budget, what the ask is, and then every single cost is outlined and we can begin to debate those costs, 6 months in advance, 4 months in advance. We can understand what those projects are, and then we can pick and choose and move them from plan years as well. You can interact with us in this tool. You can leave notes for us. We can leave notes for you. We do update our estimates annually, so those costs are not static. We also do include an inflationary escalation rate for each plan year that is built into the system. Right now, the escalation rate is probably not valid. I think we're in a period of de-escalation, so that's kind of interesting as far as purchasing construction and purchasing work. Now is a good time to do so if you're considering doing that. But this is a high-level look into what the plan does. This is where the IQ comes from. Again, I said it is a cloud-based tool. It is hosted in Microsoft Power BI, something that pretty much everybody should have access to, as well as your community. It can live with you. It can live on a website. It can live wherever you want as far as a link. As far as what we do with the data, right? So we give you this plan, you have all this data at your hands. What do? We want to make decisions. We don't just walk away once the plan is submitted to the district, to the administrator, or to the technical school in this case. We stick with you because what we want to do on the back end is talk about how you're going to buy these services, right? So we look at our plan year, maybe our investment for this year is $1 million. What's the best way to purchase the work that I'm putting in place? Is it a guaranteed energy savings agreement? The benefits there, like I said, no change orders. So it's negotiated scope of work, a negotiated fee. It's like buying work, like the private sector buys work, right? It's true design build construction too. So we can eliminate a lot of soft cost expense for the district. I think the average soft cost exposure in a public school project in Pennsylvania is anywhere from 20 to 23%. We're going to do that somewhere between 15 and 17% on the GISA side because we're eliminating the need to go to 99% drawings. We're going to maybe 40 to 60%. We don't have to account for every nail and screw because we don't have to worry about the change order work. We're working with the contractors well in advance of the final drawings. The second one is we'll look at things like roofing projects, right? It might make sense to use a cooperative purchasing network. It might not. It might make sense to use a GISA project. We've worked with a lot of those vendors who participate in KPN or CoStars. Sometimes they will give us better pricing through the GISA because they don't have to manage the job. So those costs are a little bit lower than you're going to get in the shared program. Now, the other way to do a roofing project is go the design bid build route. Depending on the roofing system, though, you could have some change order exposure, which is never fun. If you're making a major facility modification, either an addition, a major addition, or a major renovation, we do usually look at hybrid proposals where we'll modify. We'll use all of the procurement tools available to us. We'll do design bid build where we have to so we can mitigate your risk as much as possible. And we'll use some of these other agreements where we can to control risk and costs on some of the more technical scopes of work. So we do definitely, once coming out of the plan annually, we'll work with you to procure these services, or you might be doing them in-house. You're a technical school. You might be having some of your students participate in these projects. You might be having staff participate in these projects. There's a variety of ways you can buy. I just discussed 3 or 4 of them tonight for purposes of presentation. Just real quick, there were some advantages. I think we talked about them. The only thing that I'll look at is preferred vendor selection. We do typically competitively bid work under GISA, but you can work with preferred vendors, people that can get the job done with technology or a project or a product that you specifically might want in your building for a variety of reasons. And then the second one is accelerated construction schedule. Much better than a construction manager. Because we hold the contracts, we can supplement our subcontractors too. We have a lot more tools at our availability as far as holding contractors accountable to the schedule. We have a lot more control over the project because we are then the GC, not the school district. So again, eliminating more risk as far as litigation or legal exposures on that side of the fence too. We're builders, you're educators. We'll do what we do, you do what you do best, and we can keep ourselves much cleaner that way.
Another advantage I'll add here before we move off this slide, Garrett, is a big advantage to school districts is that we will bring you a project. We will develop it, design it, bid it out, and put it in front of you, final cost, no change orders, at no risk. As opposed to paying a design firm, they design it, comes in way over budget, and you end up shelving the whole thing. You still have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for that design when it didn't work out. You don't have that risk, along with a lot of other risk factors that we take out of the equation.
Yeah, that's probably a big one. No upfront design costs, so you don't pay for it unless you buy it, right? And that includes the design and professional services, which I think is a big one for, especially on new construction or major renovation projects. You can really eliminate your risk on the front end. That you're going to get a project that's in budget that you can buy before you commit costs on the design side. That's what a partnership looks like for us. That's how we've been successful. Change the game a little bit there. Yes, it's slightly risky for us, but we look to establish long-term partnerships. We do so by providing value on the front end and hope that you're loyal to us on the backside of these things. That's kind of, just being very candid with the group tonight. That's how we like to do business at SiteLogic and how we prefer to set up our relationships.
I just want to talk just a tad about the accelerated construction so everybody understands what that really means. We're builders and we're very, very good at building buildings. So we can do things that normally would take 12 months in a design bid build scenario and do it in the summer with no disruption to classes or education or anything. We do very, very large projects in a very short time period. And we can do that again because we don't have change orders. We have control of the subcontractors.
Yeah, and the last part is, developing a project schedule. I think one of the best parts of this program is you've got a big line of sight. You have a lot of line of sight into what you might want to do and how you're prioritizing work for future years, which puts us in a position to be able to take advantage of optimal bidding windows. What we don't want to be doing is bidding in late Q1 with every other public project under the sun, as well as major private projects. In Pennsylvania, we know our construction season is April to November. We want to be bidding in advance of everybody else's bid window, which typically occurs at the beginning of February and late January and last into the end of March. We like to go to bid at Q3, Q4. If we know what we're going to do, let's go out to bid early. Let's get good pricing. Let's get the right vendors. Let's get good participation before everybody commits their manpower. And so that's really important to us. And then it gives us a lot of time to procure equipment. Particularly important right now when you talk about COVID-19 and you look at supply chain. It gives us enough time to make sure that we know part of the expedited construction schedule is making sure that the equipment shows up on time. And so we don't have schedule delays because of supply chain. So we're really talking about this a lot right now across the state with our public school clients, is really making decisions early in the process so that you don't bump into supply chain issues that will occur later into the 2021 cycle because the manufacturer slowdowns. And then our installation periods, guys, typically run the summer schedule. We don't like to disrupt the classroom environment. That's kind of our moniker. We do take advantage big time quickly of the 10 weeks from June 7th to August 21st, whatever that might be this year as far as school calendars. We like to move out the day that you guys leave the facility. Everything is out. Our movers are in. One thing you will note on our jobs, and I think it's probably the most common comment that we get from our clients is, there were 95 people on the site every day. The traditional public bid projects, you're going to see 6, 7 guys on the site at a time, and you're kind of like, hey, what's going on? Like, why is this project not moving? That will not be your experience when you use a GISA contract. Your buildings will be packed, and there will be people there every day, and we'll be moving expediently. But the reason we do that is because we don't want to disrupt the classroom environment. If we do have to get a start because the schedule demands it, early, we work second shift. So we'll work after hours, pretty much starting April 1st on. And we'll do things like demo, just so that we can be prepared to hit the ground running with our major subs, our mechanical, electrical guys, as soon as you exit the building. So we'll demo ceilings, we'll demo floors. We'll do that kind of stuff to prep for them to come in and run major equipment in the summer months. So those are some of the things that we do. We do pride ourselves in being able to be as least disruptive as possible to the classroom environment as well. And so that's something as far as the development schedule, we look at it as part of your plan. Post-project support, I think Rick mentioned this on the front end, because we don't walk away from the project. Especially if we do it under a GISA, by law, we actually have to issue an energy savings agreement. And we do have to guarantee a level of energy savings. For that, we are on the hook. So we are, burdened to you. If we miss those savings over the next year, the next plan year, we owe you that in return. So it's that bait, and if for nothing else, you don't have to take my word, that's fine. But if there's contract bait there, so what we're looking at doing when we say post-project support, it's building commissioning. We're making sure that if we're installing new systems or we install a new system, like a new roof system or a new control system, we're either working to commission it or working to train your staff on how to maintain that, right? So that we're not having problems post-construction. We will work with your maintenance staff to make adjustments if necessary. And then we are constantly looking to verify project performance if we have to issue a savings guarantee. If it's a public bid job and we don't have to issue that savings guarantee, then we don't have to verify the project performance. You just won't get those quarterly energy savings reports, but we still be working alongside your maintenance staff. Again, and that goes in conjunction with the long-term plan, right? So I said that's a living document. We're working with you on the work, as we come out of the summer, everything that we just installed, but we're also working with you to plan next summer's work at all times. So we really like to become an extension of your team or an extension of your staff, working very closely with you all as you make decisions annually. I think how we really wanted to wrap here tonight, I don't want to use too much of your time. I apologize if we did. I think our pitch is, really we'd like to reduce your risk on cost and performance. It's definitely a different approach to doing public construction. I'd like, to acknowledge and thank the Penn Ridge School District. They are working with us. They've seen this in action. They've procured work this way. They've worked through the LTFM tool. We plan this way with that district, so they have firsthand experience. I think you guys could talk to them about their experience with us and with this. It's definitely different than the traditional facility architect-led, engineering-led design bid build process that public entities typically are pigeonholed to go through. Our LTFM, it's important that we don't just identify scopes of work and related estimates. We provide fully developed scopes that are shovel ready too. So if you want to move things up, that work is ready to go to bid right then and there. We can make decisions in real time, and then we can provide you a price and say, hey, look, here's the bid price. This may be best value this year. It may not be. Maybe we should wait after we see the costs that come back. So you don't make decisions until you know the final job cost. I think, which is really important, especially for you all that are representing, unless as a third party at a technical school. And then the final one is upfront pricing for study fee and construction costs. Everything in between is our risk. I will say this, as far as the long-term study here, the LTFM plan and MySite IQ, because of the location of Upper Bucks County Technical School, with Penn Ridge and our staff that's there, it would be our team at Penn Ridge that would be doing this for you all as far as analyzing your facility, updating the LTFM plan tool and MySite IQ, and maintaining that. So we're willing to come in here and analyze your facility, at least get the data into the system at no cost to you all. And then, because again, like I said, it's almost kind of like a 13th school for us at Penn Ridge as far as proximity. So that's the offer that we're willing to make to you guys tonight. Certainly, we'd like to get into your building as soon as possible so we could look at whatever you might be looking to do this summer. I've heard talks of roofing and things like that, other projects that might be there where we might be able to lend a hand. But I think, Rick, with that, I'm going to wrap. I don't know if you have anything else to say. Otherwise, we'll take questions and happy to answer any.
I'll just quickly add that this whole approach is something that we pioneered. We've been doing it in Pennsylvania schools since 2008. We've stayed on the cutting edge of all these deliverables. In 2016, we actually authored some legislative changes to allow us a little more latitude to bring really what is private sector construction experience to the public sector, and that's the design build. It's very efficient, very effective methodologies. And so with that, we will open it up to questions.
Does that mean you're trying to not use union labor?
No.
You have to use prevailing wage, period, in Pennsylvania.
Right. So
that's a statute.
Not what I asked, though, union labor.
No. So
we actually use union labor on the vast majority of our jobs. The reason being is we have so much work to put in place in such a short period of time that we have a lot of risk in construction. And generally the union shops do a better job. Their philosophy is do it once, do it right, get it done. So yeah, a large percentage of our work is union shop work.
Thank you.
So if you guys want to get out here as soon as possible, I'd imagine roofs are hard to inspect with a foot of snow on them too.
Yeah.
Wasn't anticipating that when we talked, Jeff, 2 weeks ago, but
we do have thermal scanning capabilities, so we can do that, but not with the foot of snow on the roof.
I will say though, the snow melt and how the snow melt, leaves the roof, it will be good for us. It's better to do it when it's wet than dry, especially when you're surveying.
Okay, are there any other questions from board members or the public?
I have some IT related questions. So my name's Dennis. I'm from the technology department at Upper Bucks. So it looks like you guys are doing data collection. How is that done? Are there devices that need to be installed? Do they need a network connection? How does that all work?
Initially, we do not need a network connection. We do like to access your ATC system. So I don't know if you have a VPN or if there's a safe means that you're acceptable to you. That would be the one system. Otherwise, our data collection devices are standalone. We just drop data loggers in various spaces and come back and collect them later.
Okay, so you said in various spaces, so there's not one that needs to go in each room. And then you said initially, so I guess if we're continuing to monitor, will they need to report to a server on our location? Or how,
The only
like,
request
does
we have
each device need a network connection?
The only request we have would be access to your ATC system. That's it.
Okay.
We would not require a network connection for most of our data collection. I mean, if we did, you know, that would be more extraneous and something that we'd have to discuss with you, but not.
We understand the challenges with that, so we just try to work around it and not ask you to access your system.
Now, I had a question too, sort of relating to the data collection systems, was your air quality monitors. Do you just monitor for CO2, or being a technical school, I think particulate matter would be, you know, of somewhat useful.
We use CO2 only because it's a kind of a trace gas. There's a lot of other elements. If your CO2 is off, there's probably a lot of other things that are off. It gives us an idea. It's kind of a broad range spectrum, and we chose that because it will represent a lot of things. We have capabilities though if we have unique circumstances, absolutely we can.
Yeah.
We can monitor.
We can definitely log for different levels of particulate matter, PM10, PM2.5, different, you know, particulates. But CO2 is a leading indicator in air quality, which is why we our standard study, we use CO2, but we can certainly, you know, if there's other issues going on within the facility, you know, we do like to interview staff. So if there's things that we start to hear that alarm us, you know, as far as radon, for example, maybe that's a concern, then we would be doing monitoring for other gases and or particulates. Ventilation is important, especially when we look at, you know, COVID-19 and, you know, engineered infection prevention. If we have appropriate ventilation and make up air in the space, then we know that we're probably, the air inside is probably as good as the air outside. And that's probably the best we can do. You know, but that's something that, you know, CO2 being a lag indicator for a lot of things. And also educational performance. It's one of the sole gases that, as far as educational performance and impact on the ability to learn, that has been studied. So we use that to justify air quality.
Yeah, that's a good point. The number one recommendation for pathogen mitigation is in fact ventilation. That can be supplemented with systems like ionization systems and other like that, but it's certainly a concern in the middle of a pandemic as we are.
I had a question regarding the Microsoft Power BI. We have a volume licensing agreement with Microsoft, and that product is not part of the volume licensing agreement. So would we be able to get that software from you all with an educational discount? And then would it be able to be a perpetual license as opposed to a monthly cost, as that I see is currently how Microsoft is selling it? And then how many licenses would we need typically, who needs access to be able to view these reports?
This is cloud-based. You do not need a license to access it. You will be working on our system.
Yeah, so we build it in Power BI, but it's hosted on the cloud by another application. And so you don't actually need Microsoft Power BI to observe, to utilize the tool. But if you wanted to, as far as your tech team now, because you guys are a tech school, right? So if you wanted to participate in what we were doing as far as maintenance planning and how we were identifying maintenance items, working alongside and with us, it's something that we talked to Jeff about, is being able to support some of your programs from a curriculum standpoint. Then yeah, that's something that we likely provide for you. You know, it's something that I think, as far as a minimal cost, we could build it into the cost of the project or some maintenance program, however you'd like to do that. Or we might be able to provide those devices that would be basically on loan or to you. It just depends on what our working relationship looks like. But because you're a tech school, you know, I think it would be nice to be able to incorporate your students in some of the things that we would be doing.
Yeah, we do offer those educational opportunities within our program, and basically have your students do walk-alongs with our techs. We have provided measurement equipment to schools in the past, things like that.
That's all the questions that I had. Thank you.
Well, I really like to thank you guys for presenting this evening a wealth of knowledge. We're looking forward to perhaps partnering with you guys and SiteLogic, and keeping our building up to snuff, as they would say. As we spoke, Garrett and Rick, last week, that we're excited that our students may get an opportunity to stand next to techs and engineers while they're in the building, looking at some of the HVAC systems, electrical systems, lighting. I think it'd be a great partnership. Does anyone have any other questions? We don't have to keep them here all night.
So as far as having them come out to get started on evaluating our facilities and getting an LTFM plan set up for us, is that something, like, do we need to vote on something for that?
We are offering that for free, so it does not require a vote at this point.
I guess
So
it might be helpful too, just for the board members, just to weigh in on whether everybody's comfortable with moving forward on that, even though it doesn't require a vote, maybe just getting the okay from everyone.
I don't have a problem with it if I can go first. I actually think it's probably a good idea. It's not something we've done for a really long time, to my understanding, as an institution. It's probably about time for us to get together a long-term maintenance plan as we pull everything back together as we've been doing over the last few years. So yeah, so I get the green light. I think it's a good idea. I like the fact that they're willing to let the students come around and kind of see them do their thing during the workday. I think that's an interesting little buy-in for us. At the same time, there's no commitment, so we really can't go wrong as to when we're going to implement our long-term plan. We all know that sooner is better than later. So I think it's a good idea. I don't see a downfall to it.
I agree with Mr. Achmanowitz, and the price is right.
Yeah, I think it's a real smart move for the VOTEC school to move forward in today's environment, especially from the standpoint the price is right on target with such cheap Scotchmen in this area. We don't like to spend an extra penny. So no, I think it's a great idea. We in Penridge have had a good working relationship with SiteLogic, and they've been really upfront with us. So I think it's beneficial to both parties.
Good.
I have one question, if you don't mind. All the people that would be on our site would have the proper clearances to be in the building with our students, correct?
Absolutely, that's a requirement. All the various clearances, and we also have our own PPE and our own policies about COVID protection. So yeah, we are very, very strict with all of that.
Yeah, and Tracy, we would provide that to you before we came, our PPE policy, so that you understand how we're going to abide by that. If there's anything in addition to what we're doing on site, or how our people would be protecting you all and themselves while they're there, let us know, and we can edit that. But we would send that before we came out. And then as far as like child abuse clearances and all those things that are required, the FBI background check in Pennsylvania, everybody would have that. Yes.
All right. Any other questions?
I'll just add that I've been really happy with the services that we've gotten at Penridge. I think one of the advantages that we've seen is being able to have those projects designed and bid out and get a solid price before we're making any commitment to move forward with a project, rather than having to put that cost in up front. And then, if things don't come back the way that you would like them to, then you have to scrap the project. Or if you want to compare some things, it's a good way to be able to compare things. I thought the LTFM that we have in place was very thorough. And I believe they also did a project for us at the IU in the lower end of the county, and that was also a project that that we were happy with. So.
Dave, do you want to make a motion? How do you want to?
Oh yeah, that's what I was just
move this
thinking. I'm
forward?
like, how exactly do we give them the green light or the red light?
It doesn't require voting, so having heard no objection from any JOC members, Jeff is authorized to simply make the call and bring him in.
Sounds good.
Great.
I have no objection to that. Get started, Jeff. Thank you, sir. We're coming up on the top of the hour.
Thank you, Garrett and Rick, and I'll give you a call tomorrow, Monday. As we spoke last week, we'd like to come in right after the holiday. Early January, you can come in and do a site visit. That'd be great for myself and for us, and move forward.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for this opportunity, and we certainly look forward to working with you.
How long does the evaluation take? Forgive me if I had missed it earlier on.
For one facility, I'm saying we'll be done by probably early February.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't take too long because of the facility. It's just one facility. Just depends what we're looking at. There's some data loggers and things like that sometimes we wait on certain parts of it, just depending on what we're studying. But
yeah.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We thank you for joining us. It was really nice to meet you, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from us in the future. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks for saving us money.
Thank you all.
Okay. So
I got 8 o'clock.
We got 8 o'clock.
That timing was perfect. My compliments. And I guess we'll pull up the agenda. We're going to start the reorganization meeting. Let's see. Actually, let me make sure everybody from the board is here. And find my screen here. All right, Tracy, doesn't look like we have to lead salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I believe I recall, I'm looking for a motion. Or I'm looking for
You want
motion to nominate the temp.
you want to do roll call first? Just
Thank you.
Mr. Akmatowicz?
I'm here. I'm sorry, I had to mute my microphone.
Mr. Hallowell?
I am here.
Ms. Banis Clemens?
Here.
Mr. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Cormack?
Here.
Mr. Musantri?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Rice?
I am here.
Mr. Spear?
Here.
Mr. Ott?
Here.
9 people.
you're muted, Mr. Akmatowicz.
I was hitting the space bar. I thought it was supposed to unmute. Trying something new, that's what happens. Looking for a motion to nominate for chair.
Wait, we still have to do the public comment, if there is any, even though it's only reorg.
Looking for a public comment, please. All right, if we have none, I guess we're gonna open up the floor to nominations for chair for the 2021 calendar year. That chair, I believe, needs to be from Tracy Henry, Palisades this year.
Palisades.
Okay. Anybody?
I'll make the motion to nominate Jim Hallwell as the chairperson for 2021.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any other candidates? If I hear no other candidates, I guess motion to approve Jim Hallwell as JOC chair for the 2021 calendar year. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, Jim. Passes unanimously.
So now does Jim run the meeting? No.
Not until the end of the meeting when the new one starts, if I recall, or I don't care.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, by practice, that's how it is. Generally speaking, once the motion's made, they are technically the chair, but I know the practice here has been to wait until this whole meeting is closed and then he takes over at the next one, and that's fine.
Okay. Motion to nominate vice chair for 2021 calendar year. That individual must be from Palisades. Excuse me, Penridge rather, excuse me.
I'll make a motion to nominate Megan Banis Clemens.
I will second that.
Any other candidates up for consideration? If I hear no other nominations, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Megan. Motion to nominate treasurer for 2021, and this individual, of course, is going to be from Quakertown. Anyone? I'd like to nominate Chris Beer.
Second?
Any other candidates nominated? All right, all in favor for Chris Spear as treasurer 2021 calendar year, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Spear.
Thank you.
Here is the subcommittees. Let's see here. Now we can shift around any subcommittee assignments that anybody might want. Let's just kind of read through what we have right now as the standing 2021 subcommittee members and their groups. Facilities Committee, I have Mr. Fumo, Mr. Spear, Megan, Banis Clemens. Finance Committee, Stephen Klein, James Hallowell, Robert Cormack, forgive me. And then our Program Committee, Mr. Musantri and Ms. Dolan, Katie Dolan, and myself, Dave Ochmanowitz. I do know that Katie Dolan is now an alternate, if I recall. And
That's correct.
Reese is now permanent board member. I would just motion for unless anybody has any, Dave, you want to just pick up this program spot and we kind of keep everything the same, or is anybody interested in?
I was actually looking to switch over to facilities.
Yeah, he's gonna switch. He'll switch to
I'll switch
facilities,
over to facilities.
and I will switch to programs and services.
Oh, cool.
Is Bob Fumo still on the Palisades, or is it now Jim Ott? Jim Ott's the alternative.
Jim's the alternate. There's no change. in
Okay.
the three from Palisades in the alternate.
Okay, so the following assignments are going to be those two switches, Tracy. I see you nodding. And of course, we'll replace Catherine, Dave. And I think we're, and of course, right now, the standing policy is we meet as a whole, even though we do have subcommittees. And of course, it is the privilege of the new chair to make those changes as he or she sees fit. Jim. Yeah.
There's one other one that would need to be changed with Mrs. Dolan on the Act 93 negotiating committee.
Dave, would you accept that assignment?
Me?
Yes, sir.
Sure. I just want to make sure. There's a couple Daves.
I think Dave was going to do the support staff one and Bob was going to do the Act 93 one. Is that right?
We can change that around. Yes.
Yeah, please. I want everybody to be on the committee that they want to be involved in.
Do we have the list of those negotiating committees, Tracy? The teachers, support staff, and Act 93?
Yes, if on your agenda, if you click item B, they're listed there.
All right, so am I waiting for any?
So the only other thing I think we just made chairs to committees last month for committees that we had last year. So maybe we should actually do that now instead of waiting until the end of this cycle so that it's
Probably a real good idea.
Did we ever disassociate the charter committee, the special committee, ad hoc committee we pulled around? That's no longer existing, right?
No, it is. It's still there.
All right,
But I think, you know, so I don't know if we just want to go through finance, then facilities, then.
Yeah, well, I just want to talk about that one real quick, because if we're going to close it up, you know, I don't know if that's not a permanent committee. It was put in on my watch. I shouldn't leave that housekeeping for Jim. So unless y'all think that there's some reason.
Yeah, we talked about that Mr. Khan is going to be he's modifying the amendment to the Articles of Agreement, and then once he modifies that to remove that rotation piece, we were going to send it back to Palisades to see if they were supportive of the remainder of that amendment.
I forgot about that. I apologize.
And I actually did make that change. I thought I had sent it to you, but I did not. Okay, all right, I'll get it to you.
And the Articles of Agreement committees listing Stephen Klein, and that has been me that whole time. So, I believe that one was my committee.
That's funny. That was Stephen Klein from before. He left and came back, and he's still listed there.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Thank you for bringing it up, Chris.
Well, it's why I wanted to make sure I took a look at this.
You're welcome to the position.
Tracy, you following along?
Which one was that?
Articles of Agreement Committee, that would be Jim Hollowell, Chris Spear, and Megan.
I would just like to say here that I'm not real comfortable with the way that committee's been operating. I'm part of it, and I'm just not, if there are changes recommended for the articles, I think they ought to come to the full JOC and then have the JOC approve the changes and then have that go to the home schools for their approval instead of bypassing the JOC at this point.
I'm not sure. I think that was a legal question with David Kahn then.
Well, it's a mixture of both. So the legal answer is that final paragraph of the articles does not technically require the JOC to vote on it. In fact, it only references votes by the full boards of the sending districts. However, in terms of parliamentary procedure, particularly now that Mr. Hallowell is chairing the JOC, he has, as a matter of course, the sort of prerogative to place an item on the agenda if he wants to.
Or remove one.
Or remove one, which can be, I guess, overruled, but typically would not be, you know, you would just vote it up or down when it came. 3 or more JOC members have that same right as well, generally speaking. But so it's not required, but if Mr. Hollowell wants to put it on next month's agenda, he has that right.
But I don't think that answered the question about it going through the JOC before the changes get sent back to the sending districts, or just the one district. It would have to be all the districts to reapprove it because it had the minor changes.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The whole thing has already been approved unanimously by both districts. So we're taking one thing out that Palisades, that seemed to be the biggest kind of sticking point for Palisades, and then having Palisades vote on it. before bringing it back to Quakertown and Penridge, because we already agree with all of it. So it really ends up being in Palisades Court at this point anyway. I mean, if you want to make another, if you want to have it voted on again, I mean, it just seems like the real decision is going to be made at Palisades.
Yeah, and I think what I recall is it's a minor change, Jim. I think, not that it's going to be my call, but, you're just kind of dragging it out, which I think has been your intention this whole time, all due respect, on purpose. Just calling you out, man. You've been pretty obvious about it.
Well, I don't agree with the changes, so that's my opinion.
All right. Did you get all those notes, Tracy, on all those changes? I'm not even sure I could repeat to you what happened just this last one.
Then are we going to do the chairs now then and move on?
I'm okay with that. Let's start with the Act 93 negotiations committee.
I don't think we do chairs for those. I just think starting with finance, usually we have a finance, facilities, programs and services, and
sure.
One of each of those is from each sending district, usually of each chair.
Let's just looking at the wrong page.
Finance?
I was the chair of the facilities last time. And I wouldn't mind staying that chair.
Oh, sure. You want to arm wrestle?
If I pick, well, it's between Megan and Bob were the other two. Bob Fumo were the other two on there.
I thought Megan switched over to program.
Megan switched over.
Oh, David. Oh,
yeah.
Hey, Mr. Fumo, either you have any objection to Chris chairing the committee?
Mr. Fumo's not here.
Oh, you're right.
He's not there.
All right. Well, he gets no say. All right. So congratulations, Chris. Finance committee was Mr. Hallowell, Mr. Cormack, Mr. Klein still?
Mr. Hollowell, you were the chairman. You want to stay the chairman?
I certainly can.
Fine
Okay.
with me.
There's no objection?
No.
Moving on. Program committee, which is now Mr. Misantri. Was it David?
Me.
Megan. Okay. And then myself.
So it
I wouldn't-
almost has to be Megan
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it's one from each district in the chairs. So
There you go.
not
Right.
that you
Good with
actually
that.
have that written into the articles, but that's been the practice.
Happy to accommodate. All right. Thanks for making that suggestion so that wasn't something we had to revisit. Recognition and general comments from the audience. I think that going to bring this specific special meeting to a close.
Yeah, Robert Linden,
Yes, sir.
is this the end of the meeting?
This is the end of the special meeting for implemented new leadership, and then we will begin the new actual board meeting. Will begin immediately following this close.
Okay, I'd like to congratulate everyone, great progress that the school has made, and hope the new board continues. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for your volunteerism. I know that you joined the AOC recently, I believe, if I remember correctly.
GAC.
GACO. Thank you very
That's the
much.
next meeting.
Yeah. Congratulations in advance.
Thanks.
All right, and if no one has anything else to say, we're going to bring this meeting to adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion.
All right. Any objection? Thank you very much. Wash your
I need a
hands.
second. I need a second.
David Reese and
Oh,
Klein, Mr. Klein?
Yeah, I made the motion.
I thought
By the
David
way,
seconded.
A little bit
Okay.
of parliamentary trivia that most people don't know is technically you don't need a motion to adjourn anyway.
No.
Once the business on the agenda has been concluded, the chair can simply dissolve the meeting.
Yes.
but since he doesn't have a gavel, it's not official.
Jim is really excited about this.
All right, we're done. Thanks, everybody.
And we don't have any powdered wigs.
How about a shoe? Isn't that what Khrushchev
You don't
did?
know what wigs I got.
Sorry, Dave. You may have a powdered wig.
And
That-
Jim,
that
you
would
can
be
get
an
started whenever you want,
unpatterned
bud.
Are we ready?
We are, and although you're certainly free to do so, I'm going to suggest under the circumstances that you could skip the first two components of the regular agenda. You can skip the flag salute and the roll call since we've already done both.
Okay, then we'll do that. So we'll call this meeting to order, and the first order of business would be recognition from the audience. Any comments, recognition on agenda items? I don't see or hear anything. Anybody? Once, going twice? Okay, we'll move on then to announcements. We had an executive session on the 24th of November to discuss personnel. And are we having an executive session this evening? Tracy?
We do need to have an executive session at some point. It does not need to be this evening, but we will need one to discuss negotiations. If we can do it this evening, that's great. But if not, we'll figure out a different way to do it.
Okay. So that takes care of the announcements.
Wait, so are we announcing we're having one, or we're?
You can still announce it at the next meeting. If we get to the end of tonight and everybody's still got enough energy to do it tonight, then we'll announce it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. We have some administrative reports. We have a student of the month. Would that be, who's going to take that? Jeff?
You got that, Mr. Howell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, everyone. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Chris Gentileza, supervisor of CTE, principal for Upper Bucks County Technical School, and I have the honor and privilege of recognizing the student of the month for December. Ethan Clark, a senior from Quakertown Community High School, enrolled in Mr. William Young's Small Engine Technology program, is the son of Julie and Christina Clark of Quakertown. Ethan is a cooperative education student trainee employed by Trumbauer's Motorsports in Quakertown. He is a setup and service technician and has received all excellent evaluations from his employer. Not only has Ethan excelled in our small engine program, but he was also named the most outstanding level 1 and level 2 student. He has earned the OSHA 10-hour safety certification and several other safety and training certifications. Ethan was also named a member of the National Technical Honor Society and has competed and won the gold medal at the Skills USA District Power Equipment Technology Competition. Ethan contributes to the community by serving as a junior firefighter for the Richland Town Fire Company and is currently preparing to earn his Eagle Scout rank. Ethan has completed coursework in the UBCTS Bucks County Community College Technical Entrepreneurship Program, and after graduation, he plans to attend Bucks County Community College and earn a degree in fire science. He will pursue a career in professional firefighting. Ethan, on behalf of the administrative team and staff at UBCTS, along with the JOC, congratulations and best of luck on your future endeavors.
Hear, hear.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a real honor to be able to come to the tech school and learn so many things within the trade that I'm obviously going for, small engines. And I can really thank Mr. Young and everybody at the technical school for all of that wonderful knowledge that I've gained. It really gave me the opportunity to work with my hands, which I love to do. And it really got me to where I am today, working in a pretty successful business and really learning with my hands there. Yeah, it's really great to have been able to have the opportunity to come to the tech school and learn so much. I really have to thank everybody at the tech school for giving me that opportunity. I'd like to thank Mr. Young for teaching me all these wonderful things and teaching me how to be a better person, because honestly, he probably made me one of the, the image that I wanted myself to be. And also like to thank my family for supporting me through all of this crazy adventure that I've been on. So yeah, thank you everyone. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yay, then.
ahead.
Okay,
Congratulations, sir.
great job, Ethan. We're proud of you. Next, I'd like to take a moment to recognize David Ochmanowitz. I'd like to personally thank you, David, for your leadership during these unprecedented times. We have a small token of our appreciation that reads, for your unwavering support and unrelenting guidance that helped in leading our paths to success. You are being honored with much appreciation and gratitude, presented by the Upper Bucks County Technical School faculty and staff. We'd like to, it's a shame I can't bring it out there, but can you see it?
I can. Thank you very much for appreciating my micromanagement style. I really appreciate it.
Those many long hourly calls, but it was well worth it. But again, we really appreciate it. Any leadership role during these times is hard on everyone. But again, thank you very much.
It was a hard year, and it was time well spent. Thank you. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Great job, Dave.
Excellent job, David.
Next, I'd like to recognize a name that you all are very familiar with, Ray Sliffer, the Upper Bucks County Technical School, Quakertown Community High School Machine Technology student. He has been selected to the Pennsylvania Career and Technical Education Presidential Scholarship. The criteria for selection includes academic rigor, technical competence, employability skills, ingenuity, creative problem solving. There were 16 students nominated for this recognition in Pennsylvania. Ray was one of 3 students selected to move on to the National Presidential Scholars Recognition Competition. Ray is the first Upper Bucks County Technical School student to receive this honor. He'll be notified in mid-January by the United States Presidential Scholars Office if he would be continuing to the next level of competition. So again, Ray, we're really, are honored and proud of all of your hard work and recognition you're bringing to the Upper Bucks County Technical School as well as Quakertown Community High School. Again, Ray, congratulations and good luck in your, in January.
Yes, sir.
And I have one other. Is Ray on with us? Okay. I'd like to move on. I have another announcement that our auto mechanics program, we're just informed yesterday. Congratulations, your school qualified for the hands-on competition of the 2021 Greater Philadelphia Auto Technology Competition. Overall, your top 2 students finished 7th in the qualifying exam performance of the competition. The average score for all students who took the test was 55.5%. Our students, Chris Knight scored a 70, Pete Kendall scored a 55, and then we had David Hess and Chase Rudder also participated. The students in the bold, which would be Mr. Knight and Mr. Kendall, will qualify as finalists for the hands-on competition. We're hopeful we'll be able to have a safe hands-on competition in April. For now, our plan is on hold, but we're hoping that by April, our students will be able to go out and compete in this competition. It's great for our school and for our students. And again, congratulations to all of our auto mechanic students and their instructor, Mr. Young.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Jeff or comments? Okay. We'll move on then to the committee reports, starting with the facilities subcommittee. Who's
yeah,
gonna do that?
oh yeah, I guess Bill is here now, so I'll let him.
Did you give it over to me, Chris?
Yeah, you're here now. I mean, I can speak. I can speak to. We did have a presentation from
The
SiteLogic
presentation.
today that was very informative, and then you can talk about what the ag building and all your fun things.
Well, other than the presentation, the only thing that's talkable is the ag building, which is 99% finished, and we're waiting on the certificate of occupancy. We passed the final inspection, but right now the township, Bedminster Township, seems to be holding us up on the certificate of occupancy. That's the last key to the puzzle. Once we get that, we're good to go.
Do they have any issues they're holding up on, or is it just they're
No,
holding up on scheduling?
I honestly can't figure it out because the inspector that was there gave us a verbal that we passed, and then he said his secretary, the girl that actually prints them out, has 5 days to do so. She has to get them out within 5 days, but it's been well over 5 days, so might be a question for Mr. Khan, but we're waiting on it.
I'm happy to reach out to the township.
And other than that, Chris, today was extreme snow removal. We had everything up and ready, a test drove it, test the salt spreaders, the whole 9 yards. We were very ready for it. And between myself, Craig, and Mr. Sweeta, who was on the plow all day as well. Actually, he was on the snow shovel, but we're ready for school tomorrow.
Great.
Anybody have anything to add or questions? Okay, the finance subcommittee, I guess, Teresa?
Okay. So we had a brief discussion tonight about the audit and some of the recommendations. Sherry from Hutchison, Gallen and Free will be out at January's finance committee to go over the audit. Well, she'll be on a Zoom meeting for that. We talked about the grants that are in process and ending. We have on the agenda motions for renewal of the food service procurement contract at the same price, the $600 as it was last year. Also on the agenda for approval would be policy 626 for federal fiscal compliance. We talked about the Perkins audit review that's going on this year. It's not just a financial audit. They will be reviewing 9 of the programs, and they're looking at their curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And then there were no questions regarding the bills or any other financial questions.
Okay. On the audit, will we get hard copies of that somehow?
Actually, I'm going to send them out tomorrow. She sent me the scanned copy, so I'm going to just email it out to everybody. Unless you want a book too, they did drop off a few of the books.
I'd like one. I would like one eventually.
All right. All right, I'll send them out to everybody electronically, and then when I see I can hand out the books to whoever wants one.
Yeah, Teresa, I'd like a book too. Thanks.
Okay.
We'll be in for signatures, right?
Yes, you will.
Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Okay.
Okay. Next up is the policy subcommittee. Dr. Herrera.
Thank you. The policy as a whole committee reviewed the policies listed on tonight's agenda for adoption and first reading. In addition, we discussed the following policies in committee: extracurricular participation by home education students, standards for persistently dangerous schools and victims of violent crimes, along with policy 146, student services. Discussion ensued and all policies were moved to their next respected level.
Anybody have anything to add or comment? Okay, we'll move to the program subcommittee. Who is that, Chris? Or did we even meet the program subcommittee?
We didn't meet.
Okay. So that takes care of the committee reports. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Would you like to vote on these individually? I need a motion.
Can you pause one moment, Mr. Hallowell?
Okay. What do you want me to do, Tracy?
And there needs to be an added motion to Mr. Khan. We need your assistance on this one.
What are we doing?
The welding instructor needs to be added.
To the personnel?
Yes, there's going to be an added one that did not make it to the agenda.
Probably the easiest thing to do is to tackle the consent calendar as is, and then after that, a JOC member will make a separate motion on that standalone item. That would probably be the easiest way.
Okay.
Okay.
So Mr. Hollowell, you probably want to split these out anyway, at least D. You may want, I'm not sure if everybody wants to just vote for this all in one chunk here.
Well, that's the question. I'll take whatever motion I can get.
Put it this way, does anyone need anything voted on separately? Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the personnel recommendations.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I'm clear.
That would be all of them, A through G.
A through D. Okay.
Right, Megan, that's fine. You've made a motion and there's been a second, but right now on the consent calendar, that's only item D. We haven't dealt with A, B, or C yet.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, that there's an A, B, and
That's
C.
fine. We have a motion in a second, and you can do D separately and then A through C together right after it.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the personnel recommendations, which is item D. Any further comments or questions? I'll just ask for any negative votes, any disapprovals, any nay votes, any abstentions. Hearing no nays, hearing no abstentions, that agenda item will pass 9-0. Now, next up, the other three, A, B, and C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
This is Jim Ott. I second it. Second for all three.
Okay, I did. Is that Tracy? Did you get who that was?
That's
Jim,
Mr. Klein.
you can put Jim.
Are we all right, Tracy? I didn't catch who it was.
Yes, I got it. It's Mr. Ott.
Okay, and it's second, right? Okay. Any question or comment on these items? Hearing no, is there anybody opposed? Any nay vote? Any abstention vote? Hearing none, they pass 9-0. The next item is the treasurer's bond. We need a motion to approve the secure of a bond for the new treasurer. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Comack? And a second?
I'll second. And just to be clear, that's for Chris Spear. I don't know if that needs to be in the motion.
Okay, well, it is now. Any question or comment on the motion? All right, any negative nays for the motion? Any abstentions on the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes 9-0.
Be-
Next,
Before we go further in the agenda, Mr. Hollowell, do we want to revisit the personnel item that needs to be added?
oh, well, we could do it now or later.
Just so we don't forget about it. Tracy, can you remind me of what the appointment is?
We need to appoint the new welding instructor,
And do we have the name?
Josh Kosak, Kosak.
And do our appointment motions normally include like a designation of where on the schedule they go?
Column E, step 05 of the current PSEA contract.
Okay. So, so administration is looking for a motion from someone on the JOC to appoint that individual as a welding instructor at the place on the schedule she just identified.
So moved.
I'll second.
And then for this one, Mr. Hollowell, we need to actually permit public comment since it was not previously on the agenda.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
I was. Or no, I was the first.
I
Sorry.
was the second, Chris Spear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That being said, do we have a motion and a second? Is there any public comment on this motion? Nominate Mr. Kosak as welding instructor? Anybody? Okay, I don't see any. So that being said, we'll go to a vote. Any nays for the motion for Mr. Kosak?
Did nobody just vote up or down?
Well, I'm going to assume a positive vote unless I hear enough negatives. So if there's no nays and there's no abstentions, I'll assume that the motion passed 9-0. Okay?
Quick question. Last time we did this whole treasurer thing, we had to remove the old treasurer when we appointed the new treasurer because we were put in for a 12-year term and then it ends 6 months into it. So in other words, technically I was appointed as treasurer for 12 months. It's now 6 months, 6 months into the 12-month time because it had to be appointed in June.
You're done tomorrow morning. I just emailed the insurance company the new change because she's.
Okay. I just remember last year.
Nope.
I just remember last year because it's 6 months off from when it cycles. We had to vote to take Jim out and then vote to put me in. So I didn't know if you had to vote to take me out when you voted to put Chris in.
Well, it's that ship has sailed a little, and it wouldn't require a vote so much. Actually, the easier thing would be a resignation. But frankly, if a vote like that passes without objection, it's sort of assumed that the vacancy.
Wanted to make sure we were covered.
Yep.
Thanks.
I do have to come give you some signatures then, right, Teresa? Next week.
Yeah, as soon as I find out exactly what you'll need for the bond, and they'll send over all the paperwork and we'll get that started. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, to you.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Where are we?
Number 8, the revised policies.
Okay, we don't
Do
need
we
to
do
change
that?
it. All right, we'll just call it the next motion, 8 or 9, whatever you want to call it. Tracy?
It was 8. Because we've now added one, right? Revised policy.
Okay, we need a motion to approve. Is this the first read?
This is the second reading.
Okay, so this is the second read of these policies, and it would put them in effect. Do I have a motion?
I'll get a motion.
And a
I'll
second?
second it. Steve Klein.
Okay, Tracy? Any comments or question on this motion on these policies? Hearing no questions. Is there any negative nay vote for this motion? Is there any abstention on this motion? Hearing none, The motion passes 9-0. The next item is a motion, we need a motion to approve Robert Linden to the GAC effective next, well, the 2021 school year.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Guys are too quick. You got it, Tracy?
I have it.
Okay, good. Anybody question or comment on this motion?
Welcome aboard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move to a vote. Any nays on this motion? Any abstentions on the motion? Hearing no nays or abstentions, the motion passes 9-0. Next item, the food service procurement contract. We need a motion to approve the extension of the Lenorco buying group agreement for the 21 school, well, till December of 21. That's $600. I need a motion.
So moved, Steve Klein.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any comments or questions on this? Hearing none. We'll move to vote. All those in favor? Do I have any negatives? Do I have any nays? Do I have any abstentions? Okay, the motion passes 9-0. The next item is the emergency instructional time template. We need a motion to approve the emergency instructional time template for the tech school for the 2021 school year. Do we have a motion?
So
Make a
moved,
motion.
Mr. Akmanowitz.
And a second.
I'll second it.
I'm going to need a little clarification on what this is. Jeff?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So this was sent in back August 20th with our health and safety plan, and I was contacted by PDE that they could not find it. So basically what this is, so we're going face to face. If we have to do remote because of COVID-19 and it being a pandemic, or any remote that we would occur or have would count towards our 180 days of education.
Okay, this was something that was part of the original plan in one form or another.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we'll move to vote. Is there anybody opposed? Any nays to this motion? Any abstentions to the motion? Okay, the motion passes 9-0. Next item is the Ag Building project change orders. We need a motion to approve the change orders listed here. We have a motion.
Make a motion.
Mr. Reese. A second?
A second.
Ms. Megan. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have some clarity here? What happened? What didn't happen?
Looks like the first one was worth, oh wait.
Yeah, it's worth, it doesn't really say what they are for. Worth, LGB, and Uri.
One of them was for, I think, additional ceiling tiles. That was worth.
LGB is a credit change order.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like a negative.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was for the water, because we had purchased those bottle
Cups of
filling
water.
through the grant. So they took a credit for that one, and something with the sink in the locker room. Hold on.
Yeah, they replaced the sink in the common area of the ag building.
Why did they not know how many ceiling tiles they would need? Like, how's that a change order? Do we know?
Hold on a second. They put additional ones up in the workroom. Existing ceiling unit in the workroom. I'm not sure what that means.
They went into the veterinary science program, the wash area. And when they ran the new ductwork for the AC systems, I looked at it and it just didn't look right. It didn't look professional. So they took those drop ceiling down and then they replaced it with a new drop ceiling. So they added those extra tiles.
So I'm confused. You had them take it down because they didn't do a good enough job. So then wouldn't that be their cost, not ours?
And Bill argued with them. The ceiling at that point wasn't in very good shape, and so they came in and I thought they were just going to put a new ceiling, or just put new drop ceiling in, and it would be a wash, and then we ended up getting a charge of the $1,200.
I mean, that seems like it's on them. David Kahn, you want to weigh in on this?
Actually, I don't know enough. So Jeff, are you suggesting that when you first looked at it, well, let me phrase it this way. The drop ceiling that ultimately wound up there, that they're putting the change order in for, does that match the original design idea, or is it like lower or higher or some way different?
It was lowered because of the AC systems.
Yeah, so Megan, it's flip a coin. There are arguments both ways there, quite frankly, because
It wasn't they were just going to take it, and replace the drop ceilings. I wanted them to drop it down to make it look flush with the AC system that's currently in there right now, and then hide all of the other ductwork and wires and apparatus that's above there.
And I do know sometimes removing those and, taking out all of the framework to them and trying to reinstall it, it doesn't always work very smoothly that way.
It's never pretty.
But shouldn't they have known when they bid when this project was designed, shouldn't they have known that ceiling would need to be moved down?
That's a design. No, it's an aesthetic choice. So the question, that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a mix of both. Like maybe what they did also didn't look good, but unless they were specifically told, here's the height, they would go to the height that was there.
That is correct. I actually got quite noisy with them. As per Mr. Suida, had me battling back and forth with them, but ultimately we got a brand new ceiling out of it, and in the negotiations of an argument, we got the room painted as well, which we didn't see a change order for, but they painted that room as well, which was never in the original plan. It was a small consolation. But it looks very nice now because it not only came down to below the ductwork, they put another unit in there, which we would have had a tunnel up to the grid, if you will. They lowered the ceiling to, it's all professional looking now. It looks nice.
So their original plan was to have the ductwork hanging below the ceiling. So you would see all the ductwork. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Yeah, basically, part of the ductwork would be in the middle of the ceiling. If they
Right. I imagine there's a frame. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I imagine the frame's all graphed out, and if it comes lower, you're gonna have total sections missing. And
Correct, Mr. Rachmanowitz. What it was the ductwork would have been lower than the existing drop ceiling. So to keep
Seems
it,
more than aesthetic to me. It seems like it's not feasible.
This is an architect's problem. The worth, the contractor did what was in his contract. If it was missed by somebody, it was missed by the architect and the engineering firm.
Right.
And it's tough to get back on them. We can try.
I would say that this is, we don't see many of these change orders. It's what, $1,200, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be, with our money, but it is one of the only change orders I think we saw. And I guess I could see how it could be a very easy oversight. Not to make up excuses for anybody.
And I believe that the painting in that room, was also, helps with the compensation for that as well. And ultimately makes the room look better than it would have even in the original design. So
it looks much better. It looks nice now.
Motion approved.
Any more comment? Question? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote then. Anybody opposed to the motion? Any nay? Any abstention? All right, the motion passes 9-0. What's left? That takes care of the action agenda, Tracy?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move on then into your recognition and comments from the audience. Anything?
Robert Linden, Penridge. Attended the JOC meeting with Dr. Herrera, and he reviewed the EITC program, the tax credit program, and stated that it's in the early stages of research and would need JOC approval. Are you familiar with the EITC program? And he showed the PACTA goals and the program and who would be able to contribute to the school. Ms. Deal asked if we at the JAC could make sure the technical school is on the list for local businesses to donate to. Dr. Herrera stated that there is an administrative fee that they charge. Ms. Bodnar and Ms. Deal agreed that this is something that should be looked into going forward. They want to make sure that the funds come to our school if they choose PACTA directly, and how can they make sure it comes directly to Upper Bucks Tech School. I think the EITC program is very interesting, and I think we ought to look into it in detail.
Mr. Linden, yeah, I'm not very familiar with it except for I believe this is what some people are doing with some of the religious schools now, where they can direct their state earned income tax toward their fees for those schools to their tuition. But I'm not exactly sure of the program, and I didn't even know it worked with public schools. So
it does work with public schools. It does work with public schools. They could give direct to Upper Bucks Tech School. It's something that should be looked into, in my opinion. I've read the documentation from the state and other documentation, and that's the way I see it. I just think the JOC should look at it.
So are you saying that people would need to opt to send it to the tech school instead of their home school?
It's a program by state of Pennsylvania that businesses can donate to schools, and that includes public schools, and they get a tax credit on their Pennsylvania business tax. But there's sort of a third party that gets the donation and then passes it on to the school. And they take a fee. So this is what I think we need to just understand that fully.
Does that have to be, does the business have to reside in one of the, so I own a business that's actually in Palisades School District. So would my taxes then go through Palisades to the tech school? Like, would I be taking tax money away from Palisades by, by directing them to the tech school?
It's a business tax. Now, is that go directly to Palisades?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I know some of the earned income tax from the state probably does go to the schools. I don't know how the state doles that out and separates it. I mean, it's all been pretty much, we pay in our state taxes, and whatever the state did with them, we had no idea before.
Well, I can't answer all those questions. That's what I'm suggesting is that we research it and understand it fully to see if it's a benefit to Upper Bucks Tech School, where businesses, and you have the OAC businesses that are on your list, and there are people that want to donate to Upper Bucks Tech School. And if this is an incentive because it gives them a tax deduction.
I agree. Maybe we should look at the Chamber of Commerce's, you know, maybe the Upper Bucks Chamber of Commerce to help us out with that too. I'm not sure how they would.
I'm very loosely familiar with the ITC, and I have to say, Mr. Lind, I think it's a really great idea. I also did not know that it worked toward public schools, and I think that we have a lot of businesses in the area where we could really, you know, they'd rather give their tax money to us than the state. I think there's a bunch of people on this call that would agree with that.
Right.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot there that could work for us. Thank you for bringing it up, and maybe Jeff or you on the new committee, you can make sure that we get off the ground on that. Stay on us.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for nominating me. I appreciate it. I hope I can contribute to the benefit of the Upper Bucks Tech School.
Thank you, Mr. Linden. I guess Jeff and Tracy and Teresa will do what they can, right? Okay. Any other public comment? I don't see any. We move on to announcements. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the JOC will be January 21st at 8 o'clock. And it'll be Zoom or in person. We'll see what happens at that point. Do we have any JOC committee concerns? Do you want to go around the horn, or anybody have anything?
I have nothing.
I'm good.
That's two.
I guess I would maybe add to the announcements too about the bakery sale for Christmas.
No.
It's too late. Sorry.
Not for the general public.
Oh,
He's too busy. Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
You don't need one. Remember, Jim can just bang the table and we're good. According to David Kahn.
We can all just leave.
So then when do we need to have the next?
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Now,
So
before everybody signs off, do you have the energy for a brief executive session?
that's what I was just going to ask you, David.
Yeah, or do you
Yes.
want me to try and schedule something via Zoom?
How brief is brief?
David, what does brief mean?
20 minutes, I hope?
15?
10? 5?
You know what?
12
Actually,
minutes.
I've been thinking about this because I know it's a long night for you. I will do it in 5 to 10 minutes because what I'll do is lay out the issue and then solicit your input via email. So you don't even have to give me an answer tonight. You can just
work for me.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
I'll
Get it
stay
over with.
Let's do
If
it.
you can mute me and Megan, it'll go really quick.
I agree.
Ah, there you go.
I will second.
Do we need a second Zoom call in because this one was available to the public?
Can Dennis close everybody else out?
Put us all in a breakout
private
room.
Yeah, what I'll do, yep, I'll set everybody up in a breakout room, just like we did in the previous sessions.
Night, everybody. Wash your hands.
Yep, thank you.
See you, everybody.
Dennis, can you stop the recording too, please?
Yes, I will remember to do that this time.
Thank you.
Let us know when we're good.